So I just watched, well, not recently, I watched it this morning. Bernard Hopkins talking about how Canelo Triple G can be made at 156 and a half as opposed to the earlier reports at 155. Um, Obviously, I want this fight to happen, but I know some fans are like, well, it's just a pound and a half. Um, you know, 25 more ounces. But when in reality, when you've reached your apex as an athlete and you're asking your body to go a bit further at 34, it's quite challenging. I believe, obviously, I believe Golovkin Triple G can make that weight. At what cost, though? Um, I think if it's a 160-pound belt, it should be made at one. The fight should be made at 160. And if I had my channel when Floyd was making people, when he made Canelo fight at 152, I would say the same thing. I say the same thing with Broner and Porter. You know, um, if it's a 160-pound weight belt, fight at 160. And it's sad that rules are being manipulated for selfish gain and to eliminate natural competitive advantages and disadvantages. If the fight is made at 156 and a half, obviously it favors Canelo. He's been making 154, 155 for quite some time now. And it would be like telling Canelo to fight um, right now, to fight uh, Danny Garcia or somebody at 150. It's that extreme. And I know Danny Garcia is not on the level in the market arena, but in terms of records, he's definitely there. But I'm just giving you guys an example. It's sad that boxing has come to this. Um, thank God the novice fans don't know about bending the rules to create competitive advantages because they just know that the fight is going to happen. But people like real die-hard boxing fans and media outlets and everyone else knows that Canelo is creating a huge competitive advantage by making Triple G get down to one now. Bernard Hopkins, I'm quoting Bernard Hopkins, 156 and a half. And the biggest reason I believe for him doing this interview is to protect Canelo's image. If you guys go to HBO Sports on YouTube, just scroll down and you'll see um, you'll see Bernard Hopkins talk about this. It was just a propaganda interview to keep Canelo's market share intact because the biggest um, ammunition they used was, well, now that we have or you have, you talk about Golden Boy Promotions, the biggest ticket seller and the most marketable man in boxing, etc., etc., etc. You guys know how Jim Lampley talks, but make the fight at 160. Oh man, I wish Deontay Wilder's fight was in Los Angeles because he holds a WBC belt and he's fighting January 16th against some guy. I have no idea who he is. Deontay Wilder needs to step up his game and fight a top 10 opponent. But well, I'll do a video on that later. But I want to interview Mr. Suleiman, President Suleiman, and ask him what is going on. Like, you take pride in having the green belt, which every fighter in the world wants to be a part of. However, you allow these catch weights to happen, and you've did it with Cotto. You've done it. You're now going to do it with Canelo Triple G, which is probably will be the biggest fight of 2016 uh, until Kovalev and Ward. Um, until Kovalev and Ward steps back in the arena and fight, or Mayweather fights whoever. It's going to bring in the biggest amount of money and will be the most watched fight. But just want you guys to know the fight will probably happen at 156.5, and tomorrow's December 11th. So if tomorrow's December 11th, that was the deadline, and we'll see what happens or what they're going to say in terms of, because Canelo is not going to meet the deadline, because if the fight was going to be made, it would be made by now, because it just makes too much sense not to roll off the momentum of Triple G knocking out David Lemieux and Canelo defeating Cotto, not using this momentum, because boxing goes dark the early part of the year in terms of novice fans and just sports fans in general, because the NFL owns January and February. That's inexcusable. College basketball owns March Madness, all the college tournaments, the conference tournaments, and then the NCAA tournament, and then April, because the Final Four is the first week of April, because that's Michael Jordan's golf tournament. It's typically the same weekend. And so that's the biggest reason why, and even Bob Arum admitted, the biggest reason why Manny Pacquiao was fighting on April 9th is because he knows the market share base, novice fans included, would have their attention elsewhere as opposed to boxing. So the fight will be made. I'm disappointed, but it's actually just to add to that, it's actually a great place for PBC to pick up some market share, because there will not be any big fights by Top Rank. There will not be any big fights by Golden Boy. There will not be any other big fights going to take place. So if PBC is consistent and they can create like this WWE type of, where you're expecting something every Monday, like Monday Night Raw, where you're expecting something every Tuesday, where you're expecting something every Saturday, no matter who's wrestling. It's like when some of you guys, I'm 38, so some of you guys may recall waking up every Saturday morning watching WWF, knowing that it was not going to be any big fights. Sterling Sharp was always going to fight the Ultimate Warrior and lose. Sterling Sharp was always going to fight the Iron Sheik and lose. There was never any big fights, not unless you had Saturday Night Main Event. If you guys remember that came on before or after Saturday Night Live. I think it was after Saturday Night Live. If you guys remember, I'm dating myself, but I know I'm gonna make some of you guys that listen to this like back down memory lane, staying up Saturday night to like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But so PBC wins in terms of gaining market shares and gaining the attention of novice boxing fans between January and April, because there will not be any big fights then from any other boxing entities in terms of promotional companies. So disappointed that it's obviously a catch weight. I do want to see this fight. So if I got to see that 156 or nothing, I'm going to see that 156 and a half. So I do expect this fight to happen. But what I do expect to happen is for them to sign a 2 or 3 fight guarantee. And what I mean by that is, how HBO used to do, really, HBO was really good at this when I was younger, when they had fighters fighting in hopes of the next fight. It was like when Evander Holyfield was sitting ringside watching Mike Tyson lose to Buster Douglas, when Floyd Mayweather was sitting ringside when Victor Ortiz defeated Andre Berto when they were supposed to fight years ago, where you have that cross promotion where Triple G is fighting somebody, Joshua Clottey. Let's say he's fighting Joshua Clottey. Canelo would go to his fight and do an interview, and vice versa. If Canelo is fighting Gabe Rosado, which I can see that fight happening, Triple G sitting ringside, and you got the interviews and this big cross promotion and this fake hatred building and building and building and building, and then November of next year, we probably have a built up fight, an organic built up fight. Well, I wouldn't say organic because it was facilitated by the executives of HBO, but you get what I'm saying. So, barbershop conversations. The fight is going to happen at 156. It's a 160-pound belt. Catch weights or catch weights. It's not great for boxing, but if that's the only way you get to see the fight, obviously we'll take the fight. So, let me know what you guys think. I'll repeat it again. Bernard Hopkins say the fight, if it does happen, will happen at 156 and a half, as opposed to the reported 155 early reported. So I want to hear an interview from Suleiman, the president of the WBC. So let me know what you guys think. Barbershop conversations, and we'll have more boxing content. Talk to you soon, guys. Peace.